Alright, so it is indeed the month of October currently, and I have been slacking on the videos this month. I know, it's down bad, but that stops now. For the rest of the month, I'm going to be trying to platinum as many horror games as I can within this challenge I'm already doing, starting off with the Quarry today. This is a lot like a previous video I made a few weeks ago about Until Dawn. Essentially, the games have like the same plot. It's very suspicious. But the Quarry has a total of 41 trophies, including the platinum, and now I've already played the game a while back for fun with, you know, so yeah, I already had 10 trophies when starting off today, and the guide for this game's platinum on PSN profiles is legit the best trophy guide I have ever followed in my entire life. Each and every step is laid out in one of the best walkthroughs possible, so if you go for this legit, just follow step by step. It's insanely good. But stage 1 is to beat the game, and while doing so, making sure to save everyone, kill all of the Hackett family, and collecting all of the turrets and evidence that you can. So the game first opens up with Max and Laura heading to Hackett's Quarry summer camp to get there early because they are camp counselors this summer. However, on the ride in, they spot a creature just sitting in the middle of the road, and obviously, since the economy is so bad right now, we can't afford to crash and also have to deal with someone's life insurance policy. Which is why Max sent her off right into the ditch and shockingly didn't hit a single tree. Like, dude, that is actually insane. You then just snoop around the area with Max trying to fix the car while Laura sneaks into his bag and then just wanders off into the woods for a very far distance, might I add. That is until a woman just appears and whispers into her ear. This is what the voices feel like, I can't lie. Anyways, both Laura and Max were back in the car, basically just hiding from the voices because it's safe in there, of course. Then a cop shows up and he was legit the most sketchy feeling cop ever. If I was these two, I would have honestly asked to see some real identification because bro very well could have just been cosplaying, and he probably is. Long story short, he is the sheriff in North County, which is the area the game takes place in. And he also tells us not to go to Hackett's Quarry right now because it's too late and, you know, some other BS reasons, which is why we of course go. Oh, the mistakes we have just made. And almost immediately while here, Laura peeks through this little crack and sees one of the creatures down in the basement. And apparently that wasn't enough of the creeps to send her off though, because then the bitch breaks her way on down there to say hello. Such a blonde girl moment. Max wasn't quite so dumb though and refused to go all the way in, simply just waiting by the entrance. But he then got, snatched up by the monster, so that's awesome. Laura then tried to drag Max out of the basement, but the sheriff showed up again and put some substance in her that knocked her right on out. And that was it for the intro to the Quarry. We then had a little interrupt scene, just like in the Until Dawn game had as well. But chapter 1 just begins as you would expect, and this is where the story really takes off. Initially, we are all just getting ready to leave the camp because the summer is now over. Yup, we flash forwarded 3 months or something to the end of summer. However, Jacob got this great idea to steal a component of the car to make it not start up, and he did that. Chris Hackett, the camp leader or owner, then came out to send us all off, and he couldn't get the car started for us. So then he threw a little tantrum, obviously, as you do. And he also then just left, leaving us here to basically fend for ourselves. Now that's crazy. So being the kids we are, the entire group decides to throw a bonfire party on the beach, and then we all kind of split up to get the essentials for such occasion. This is in chapter 2 now, by the way. But first you play as Emma and Jacob hunting down alcoholic beverages in the camp store. Now we did find that, but we also found a shotgun, so that's cool and very much needed later on. You then play as Ryan and Dylan snooping around inside of Chris's office trying to charge up our phones. And all we really found was that he had an entire security room hidden inside. Very sus, Chris, not gonna lie. And finally we got to play as Nick and Abby hunting for some firewood. The only practical thing we truly needed for this fire, let's be honest. But a bunch of wild pigs showed up and I had to save Abby by doing an interrupt. This also ended up being my 10th interrupt done in the game's entirety since I played a while ago, and I got a trophy from it. There was also a section following that where Nick and Jacob had a shooting contest against each other. However, to get a certain trophy, you have to play on aim assist auto, meaning you don't even have to shoot at all the entire game, and the game does it for you. So I really just watched them have fun from the side. A lot like Sneeko and when his girlfriend's other boyfriend is having fun with her. Alright, so it finally made it to nighttime in the story, and this is when things truly begin to turn up. Caitlin had a great idea to have the whole group play Truth or Dare, a classic game. And Emma got dared to kiss Nick, which she did. Maybe a bit too much for some characters' likings, might I add. One of those characters being Abby because she has a huge crush on Nick, so she stormed off into the woods crying. Also, Jacob and Emma are sort of a thing, so he was also super sad and ran away in addition. We are now in chapter 3, by the way, and Nick ended up running after Abby because he likes her a little bit and wants to make sure that she's doing okay. However, this act of nobility would turn out poorly. Although Home Dog did get a smooch, he then also got a smooch by a monster and eaten like a dog treat for a few seconds before Abby ran away, and then we had to hide and make sure she didn't also get eaten alive. Abby ends up just fine. Nick, Yeah, definitely not. So then it swaps over to Jacob, and he's actually just crying on the end of this lake's dock. What an emotional little man. I think he actually needs this villain origin story night, to be real with you. Short story, even shorter though. Jacob and Emma both end up swimming and stuff. That is until Emma swims a bit a ways, and Jacob also hears Abby screaming off in the distance. We get posted to go help Abby or dive back in the water for the car's rotor arm, which we stole in the first chapter, and you were supposed to dive back in, so I did. While down there, we also saw a bloated corpse, and even after playing this game for like 7 different playthroughs, I still have no idea who this is. To be honest, it could be your long lost dad. Who knows? Anyways, I then got to play as Ryan, who is my least favorite character in this game, I'm not gonna lie. Bro is actually just depressed the entire time, and it gets super boring and old. But that's okay, because he gets the trophy right here from reaching Nick using every shortcut. Essentially just super fast. And here's that. Sadly though, a hunter was already on the brother and tried to take Nick from us. But we shot the hunter, and he concluded that it simply was not worth dying for. Anyways, the entire gang was then back at the bonfire in the next chapter, that is, except for Emma, since she is on the Quarry's island just vlogging. Girl, vlogging died in 2019. Give it a rest. Like seriously, please. She did this for so long and I was very tempted to just let her die. Oh wait, I actually did fuck it up and she died. God damn it. But don't worry, I had a save file from like half an hour earlier, so I didn't have to reset the entire game. You know, this is still unfortunate though, so I definitely learned my lesson. Anyways, fast forward 30 minutes of getting back to Emma's part. Basically, there's a monster put up in this island's tower roof, and we, being the smart woman we are, decided to open the trapdoor, which has had lumping and growling sounds behind it. Very smart. We then got chased for a while before hitting up this zipline and zipping away by the skin of our teeth. But back to the main group, it consisted of Abby, Nick, and Caitlin as of right now. However, when they were all trying to figure out what to do with Nick, that damn hunter showed up again, and we had to do a hold breath event playing as Nick, which once completed ended up being my 5th one total, and I got a trophy from it. This also ended up being the first chapter of today that I haven't played through yet, meaning I would get a glorious chapter trophy from it. But the rest of the chapter then had us playing as Ryan and Dylan, trying to get Dylan's Radio Shack working and send off a call for help. But the idiot literally said that it only has a radius of 1 mile. So I'm not sure who he thought would get the call. Maybe that single mom next door, I mean, who really knows? But someone who did get the call was one of the monsters, because one shows up and literally tries to rip Dylan's arm off through the ceiling. And in order to stop his infection, he asked us straight up to just chainsaw his arm off. Now we won't show this, it's, you know, a bit graphic and AdSense is not going to appreciate it, but he ends up being just peachy. And then none other than Laura from the game's prologue decides to make an appearance and drops one of the monsters for the first time. But when the monsters die, they end up turning back into their human form, and sadly the one she killed was a little girl, so, you know, that leaves a bad taste in the mouth. But after chatting with the forbidden therapist here, I got a trophy, so all is well. And I'm not gonna lie, the next chapter didn't really have many exciting moments aside from when Jacob and Emma got chased right away in it, but it didn't last very long, much like myself. So yeah, the next interesting thing was at the end of the chapter, and it shows Nick finally making his transformation into a monster, only after throwing his little girlfriend across the room like Aaron Hernandez probably did. But yeah, it was definitely a spectacle, and then he just ran away, so that's lame. Aside from that though, it ends with Laura actually showing herself to the other characters who aren't aware of her existence, and I got a trophy once that chapter ended. Now that chapter was a bit slower than the other ones, however, my god, it wasn't slow when comparing it to chapter 7, which is the next one up, of course. This chapter was a flashback chapter to the months Laura and Max spent after being captured by the sheriff from their horrendous night. And it quite literally lasted an hour of us just sitting in a prison cell and talking to the sheriff until getting to explore finally and find some clues and stuff we needed to do. This was complete balls, bro. While exploring the station at one point, however, I got to hack into his computer and listen to a podcast about Hackett's Quarry. Now I love myself a good podcast, and the game does also, since it gave me a trophy from listening to it. Oh yeah, and we eventually devised a plan to escape, which involved injecting the sheriff with a sleeping serum just like he did to us earlier. Karma's a bitch. And I also got another chapter trophy. Finally, we were then back in reality, and the goal now is to find Chris Hackett and kill him, because he is the werewolf that bit Max and who we assume started the whole thing. Also, side info if you don't know, the only way to get rid of the werewolf curse is to kill the werewolf that bit you, so that's cool. Laura and Ryan then set off to the house on the edge of the Hackett summer camp property, because where else would Chris Boy be at? However, they fell through the floor and all the way down into the mines below. Reminds you of any other game? Okay, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, and those mines lead straight into the holding cells where these people have been throwing monsters in. We also had to do an electric panel puzzle to disable the doors and let Jacob out, because he got thrown in here also and he's not even infected. After doing it though, we then split ways and followed Laura further up into the house. However, sadly, Laura was trying to open a trap door right into the room where 2 main characters were, so that's just unfortunate timing. That was also the end of the chapter, and here's the trophy from it. The following chapter was then one of the most action-packed in the entire game. So much so that I'm just going to give you guys a quick little montage of all the people that either died, got hurt, or almost got hurt and died. First was the old woman who got her head blown off because she was playing with a gun. Never do that, kids. Next, Laura dodged a bullet to the chest barely, and Ryan also got very comically stabbed. I love that. Laura got jumped by the old woman's husband, the old man, and there was a scuffle for a while. I'm actually surprised at how well he held up, but he did also go to his end, so that's sad. But Ryan was then still getting chased by the mentally slow big hunter guy that has been following us all game, and he ultimately got cornered, then stabbed him, had a very iconic moment that a ton of you have probably seen before, which was super funny.
You stabbed me! Yeah, fucking hurts, don't it?
The chapter then ended off with Laura biting Ryan to make him have the curse also because she got it earlier. And it evidently heals you before you turn, so it low-key saved him from dying. That was also a trophy, by the way. Dylan and Caitlin then had a very cool scene where they were in a scrapyard trying to get a car down and pick it for parts. However, a monster shows up and you end up dropping the car on it to kill it. Very fun. Back to Laura and Ryan, they were in the attic of the house and found Chris up there, but he broke free pretty much immediately and crashed us all through the ceiling right into a room that had the sheriff inside. There was then a ton of fighting here. First, Chris killed the hunter, then we killed Chris, and then we killed... Nope, I'm just kidding. We actually teamed up with the sheriff because you have to be on his nice side for this trophy right here. That was also the end of the chapter, so I got another trophy in addition, which is cool. The next chapter was in a very quick sort of lore chapter showing us what happened to the woman we see in the intermission screens, and also her son Silas, who is the OG werewolf boy that infected all of the Hacketts. But once that ends, I got another trophy. It is now the final chapter, and this chapter has so many endings to it depending on how many characters are left. It's actually very cool. But first, playing as Caitlin, I found the last tarot card I needed to and got that annoying collectible trophy. I also found the last piece of evidence playing as her in the same area for another collectible trophy. Jacob and Emma also linked up in the woods for a quick chat, and if you tell Emma the truth of why the car wouldn't start in the intro because Jacob did strand us here, and pretty much is the reason behind all of this, you get a trophy from doing that. The game then ends off with us finally finding Silas, who was just sleeping in the woods, and we got to choose to shoot him or not. So we shot him and destroyed the curse as far as I know, which gave us a trophy from shooting Silas. I then also got 4 trophies after. First from the chapter 10 completion, then keeping everyone alive, killing all of the Hacketts, and not missing a single combat encounter because we had on auto aim like you were supposed to. I also sat through like 30 minutes of credits, which was insane to get this epilogue trophy. Sadly, however, this is kind of where the fun ends because to clean up this game's trophy list, you kind of just have to go back and do quite a few partial and even almost full new playthroughs to get different endings, infect more people, and even just find all the clues because you can't do that in the original playthrough. So the first trophy I got was called Should Have Gone to the Motel, and it's gotten from instead of saving Ryan, you let him die and then go visit Max instead because we gotta fill that manhole in our hearts. So here's that trophy. You then have to do a playthrough infecting everyone in the game, which isn't really that hard and kind of fun because you can just mess up everything. It's a great time. But the final people I needed was Caitlin and Dylan. So you literally just, as I said, screw up all the quick time events and they both get caught by the monster. However, it doesn't end there and you can still grab the remaining clues for this Get All Clues trophy pop a bit after. And then we begin the last playthrough having to begin first with Nick killing Abby for a trophy. Simply done by not shooting Nick when he's about to turn and he will take off her head. So I guess, no head now. Yeah, here's that trophy. And this playthrough, by the way, has us kill off every character, Caitlin being the last one again, and this pretty much sums up how we went about killing everyone off. Just not doing anything and watching ourselves slowly fade away. But you can also just replay this final part with Caitlin and not die to get a trophy from having her be the last one alive, so I did that. Here's that trophy also. You then have to go back to a previous save before the showdown with Chris, the hunter, Laura, Ryan, and the sheriff, but this time the sheriff and Laura will kill each other, and we also die. But it was a trophy, so who cares, we can reload the save again and get another ending. This time having Ryan be the last dude left. So we kill the sheriff with him, swim with Max, which is always death, and then the game ends with Caitlin once more sacrificing herself and giving us that final story trophy. I did have to get one more trophy, however, but it was just from using the movie mode, which I have no idea what that actually is, but I got the trophy from it in the Platinum Trophy Pop. So that was the Quarry Platinum Trophy experience. Overall, this game goes pretty hard. It's got a really odd style to it, but I guess it is unique because of that. Although it is a lot like the Until Dawn story, it does vary, but if I'm being honest, I do still think Until Dawn has a better story and is a better game. It has to be said. Rating the Quarry out of 10, I'm going to give it a solid 6.5 out of 10, and that's basically it. Thanks for the continuous support, and I'll see you guys soon with more.